I don't think it likes me playing that music. I tried.
I think Cher's attorneys are hot onto us.
I guess. I'm sorry.
Why do we sound crazy?
Uh-oh. I think.
Now what? Oh my God.
I'm not sure. Do you have two screens? Does anyone have two screens open somewhere?
I could.
Every day is a learning experience. I think it's because we need you on headphones, maybe, Virginia.
It can't happen.
Hello, everyone.
Can you open on... Hi, everyone. We're figuring out technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
This is behind the scenes.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Right now you're muted. I'm unmuting you. Oh, go ahead and unmute yourself, V. Sorry.
I'm unmuted.
It's a spooky rendition of our...
Try refreshing your page. Because it wasn't doing that earlier. People in the chat, tell us what you're reading and what you're excited about. If you've looked at the list, which is right below us in the green, you can click the green button. If you've looked at the list, tell us something you're excited about. Unmute. Okay, say something.
Something.
Yeah, you need headphones. Let's see. This is hilarious, and everything will be worth the wait. Thank you for that. Let's see here.
Let's see. Chris, do we have any other options besides?
Aside from because can you connect headphones to your iPhone in any way?
I'm gonna get Pat's cell phone. I mean, Pat's laptop. Talk amongst yourselves.
Perfect. All right, we're gonna talk amongst ourselves.
Yes. We can tell you about. I don't know. What do we want to tell them about? Okay, Loving the Godmothers. Ooh, okay. So Lucy Foley's new book is in here. Don't worry.
Ooh.
Mercy Street by Jennifer Haig. What else are you excited about? Other Black Girl. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did anybody hear her? What I'm trying to think of. Oh, ALA. Who went to ALA? Anybody? We have some authors maybe that you'll recognize that were in our booth. Dervla McTiernan. Yeah. Oh, and Chris is Tobacco Wives. Look at the cover. You can't. Well, you can't. I don't know. You have the slides, but don't worry. We will show you the cover for Tobacco Wives is gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Let's see here.
Oh, and fantastic discussion with Jeffrey Archer and Anthony Horowitz. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. That was our Facebook Live. And get excited because we just talked to our author guest, Wanda Morris, our lead read for the season. She will be here soon, and we will let her tell you all about her new book. And I can just tell you how it's going to go. So we're going to show the slides once we get everything figured out. And then we're going to give a couple of intro slides. We have about 8 titles to present. And then we're going to have our author guest. We have a couple more roundup slides of like what's coming and what we're excited for. And then we will get back to the titles. It's jam-packed with good titles for you. And then that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, you can put them in the question box at the bottom or in the chat. Chat might be a little lost, so preferably the questions. And then, like I said, the titles and the slides are in that green button at the bottom. We're also going to show you, you can also go to bit.ly/July 13th Buzz, and you can find the same thing there. How we doing?
We're good. Virginia's going to get a new laptop because she needs headphones, or else we'll get that intense echo, and just be ready for a lean, mean, buzzing machine. If you know us, you know we're not usually ones for brevity, but we do have a lot to talk
Yeah.
about. So
Should we go through
with
some
this
intro
added
slides?
twist, yeah, we
Okay.
might as well. Let's do that, and
All
then
right.
give Virginia some time to
'Cause
come back to
you
us.
guys know some of this, but all right. So, no, I want to present, not share. Okay, so we're happy you're here. Like I said, you can download the title list at bit.ly/July 13th with a TH Buzz. This is all of our social. Chris, I'm going to keep going unless while you're
Yeah, it
going
looks
with
like
that. Okay.
Virginia's maybe back with us.
Oh, okay.
V, can you hear us, V?
You're muted.
Let's see.
Working on it.
Okay, I'm going to keep going.
Okay.
Chris, I'm going to keep going while you're figuring that out. So,
Okay.
so we're social. This is our blog. Everything we, if you want to get a hold of us or want to find out more, or you want a reading suggestion, they are not in short supply here. And that's our socials on the side. Okay, these are some good things to go over while we're waiting. So being whitelisted for eGalleys, happy to do that. You can email us at librarylovefest@harpercollins.com. Tell us what public library you're with, and tell us if you have an Edelweiss or NetGalley account and what email is associated with that. And we'll get you set up, and then you can download automatically all the eGalleys. At the bottom of the slides, if they're available as eGalley, which is a pretty good indication of if they're going to be physical or not. The eGalleys, if they're in, that's a good indication. And they're at the bottom if those are in. The rest, they're kind of far out. They're coming, so stay excited. Yeah, we'll go through all of this, I think. Chris, do you want to talk about author events?
Yeah, I know we're now in that period where we're figuring out if we're going virtual or in person. It is an author by author thing, but we do love the virtual events and the flexibility it gives to libraries across the country. So if you are a library who is looking to schedule virtual events, that will still be a thing for the foreseeable future. So just go to our blog, click that link. You can get kind of a rundown of what we need to know about your programming, and then you can always either email us or there is a submission email box for your prospective events. So we're here for you. Let us know if you have questions on that. It's a cool program. Door to Door. You'll be hearing a lot about, I think probably many of you have joined us on Door to Door this summer, the summer of blockbusters here at the Library Love Fest team. We have some incredible events that we'll be teasing throughout our presentation when that time comes. But join us every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Facebook Live. If you don't do Facebook, that's fine. Everything's on YouTube after the fact. So yeah, and we do have some big ones in the following months, a couple of months. So again, I don't want to give that away. I'll save that until we get to that slide. Lainey, podcasts.
Yes. So if you don't know, we have a podcast. And if you're thinking, I don't know what a podcast is or how to listen, just get a hold of me and I will walk through it because I love podcasts so much. And it's just an audio interview. So we do some really fun things. We'll do author interviews. Editors will interview authors. This one on the slide is our July Library Reads selection. And what's really cool about that one is we get to get audio clips from authors who make the Library Reads list each month, and we get to hear from them. I think that's probably one of all of our favorite podcast episodes we do. We try to do that monthly. And yeah, you can give us a call, leave us a voicemail. I'd like to hear what you're listening to, or if there's something we can explore. But it's just a great way to like deep dive into a book that maybe we don't have time to always talk about. We can give supplemental information, and it gives you some good readers advisory to kind of connect like some background information if you want to recommend that book. Yeah, I want to know if you like the podcast. Please or if you don't, let me know what you don't like about it. But I hope you like it and you tell me all about it. And then we have audio e-galleys. We're calling them ALCs, advanced listener copies. And essentially it's like the whole audio book. It's just in advance, so librarians can download them and hear the audio book. These are 3 that we have for July. You'll hear about these in the presentation as well. And I put links on your handout to find both on NetGalley and Edelweiss how to download those. But if you have any questions about it, just let me know. And then we're gonna pause until until we're good, because we're getting into the books. So yeah, so tell me, okay, I'm gonna look at the chat and make sure that we're all good. Any questions? Audio books, yeah, it's all digital, so that's exciting. What else? Any questions about anything we've gone over, or the title list, or anything about like that? Love Door to Door. And we're getting close. I'm sorry guys for the wait, but you know, I feel like I'm on a stand-up routine. What do you want to hear? Yeah, audiobooks are exciting. Everyone was really excited for that program, and I find it really great too. Like if you take a walk, you don't have to actively be reading. You can listen to the audiobook. We have a lot of great audio narrators that make it a little different than you can read it and listen to it at the same time. Okay, what if you're whitelisted for e-galleys? Are the audio galleys pre-approved? Good question. They're yes, the same way. So once you get whitelisted, you can automatically download any available one that applies just for the adult side audio e-galley. And that list that I provided from Edelweiss, you can see those, and it's the same process of downloading a book. It's just that it'll give you the audio. It'll say audio or e-galley. And then for NetGalley, kind of the same thing, but it's in a little different section. So you have that link as well. Let's see. Which books are you looking forward to? What are you reading? Okay, let's see. Oh, I'm taking over. And I should tell you, I'm taking over the HarperCollins main Instagram. So just HarperCollins on Instagram tomorrow at 12:15. I'm going to do some reading recommendations. Hope you guys can join me. There'll be books that are out because obviously people on Instagram are looking for books they can get their hands on now, but that'll be fun. Let's see, what am I reading? What did I just finish? I didn't just finish this, but we're doing the X-Hex as a door-to-door episode on it comes later in the presentation, so check it out. But it's Erin Sterling, who is a pen name for another author you'll know, but she writes different genres, and it's a super fun rom-com. It's witchy and very October based, but it's also got the like kind of Buffy vibes. It's super fun. Even if you're not into rom-coms, it'll get you in the perfect mood for spooky season. That one's fun. And then a lot of the ones I'm excited about I get to present today, so that's exciting. One in the presentation you can look out for is called Woman Eating, so perk up when that's mentioned. Loved X-Hex, just heard about X-Hex, so please come to Door to Door so you can hear from Rachel / Erin Sterling. What's the title? Get the X-Hex. Oh, the title to look forward to is called Woman Eating, and that's in the presentation. Visual and audio lost. I hope you can still see me because I'm just talking. Okay, just me up there. Good. Let's see. Instagram. Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's see. Do we have a page where all the door-to-door events listed and links? Yes. Very good question. Thank you, Carol. So that we have a YouTube page that has all of the past episodes, all of those events. And we also have it on Facebook. If you go to our page, it says like videos. It's all under there. But you can also go to our YouTube channel. And those are uploaded usually the day after our event. And you can go there. That's usually the easiest way to find out what ones we've done. Hope that answers that. Or, you know, if there's an author that you think would be cool, that chances are they might have been on there, you can just type it in. I see Casey Davis like Friends Like These by Kimberly McCreight. We just did a great podcast episode with her and her editor. It went up yesterday. So go to SoundCloud to check that out. And let's see. Any more? Can't see or hear. Try. Okay, so here's a little little tech help if that's helpful, to restart the page at the top. If it doesn't help and it's still coming in a little wonky, you can change the like HD, so you can toggle from HD video at the top, or also using Chrome and deleting your cookies and your history sometimes helps. So you kind of have to do a little bit of trial and error, but I hope that helps. Okay, well, I'm just chatting. Let me know what else you're doing. Great, Lainey. Thank you. I'm trying to keep an eye to see where my friends are, if we should do something else. But if not, I'm just gonna, Chris, Virginia, let me know. But if not, I'm gonna keep talking. Can you repeat how to get whitelisted for Edelweiss and NetGalley? Yes, I can. So you'll email librarylovefest@harpercollins.com, and you will tell us what public library you're associated with, and you'll tell us if you have Edelweiss or NetGalley or both, and what the email is associated with that. That will speedline the process. And let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And we'll send a little how-to back. So if you don't know how to do it, that's fine. Oh, wait, somebody said something about how to host a Viking funeral. Where did that go? Do we need a ship? You don't need a ship. It's very much in the things you do, not the physical attributes you bring to this Viking funeral. But it's that one you should be excited too. They did leave me, Kelly, but that's okay. I hope you guys aren't tired of me yet. Does getting whitelisted for HarperCollins include being whitelisted for all the imprints? So I can whitelist you for all of the adult imprints at HarperCollins, minus Christian or leadership. But like all of the HarperCollins adult imprints, I can whitelist you for that. So if it's for kids, you'll have to reach out to our colleagues there. And if you need to get in touch with them, that includes YA, we'll get you in touch with them. Oh, thanks, Kim and Tony. You guys are sweet. Canadians, good question.
Okay, can you see me?
Yes.
Hanging up. Goodbye. Thank you.
We can hear you too.
Sorry, everyone. Are we done?
Yeah, I was just telling somebody had a question about Canadian approval on Edelweiss NetGalley. We'll get back to that, but we're back now.
Holy Hannah banana. Can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
Great. I'm sure I look good. Damn technology. All right. So, well, thanks everyone for coming, and bye-bye. Only kidding. All right. I am so sorry. It's been a technical nightmare. I'm here. Forgive me. Lainey, thank you. You've got a future as a monologist. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. Hello, everyone. How are you? Thank you for waiting. And Lainey, Chris, thank you so much. Hi. Welcome to the world famous Book Buzz. Muted. We're so glad you're here. Seriously, Lainey, that was great. I was like, what should I talk about next? So funny. Okay, so we're going to get right to it because we wasted so much time. Chris, Lainey, saviors. Here we go. Silly tech. No kidding, Jenna. Okay, Kate Quinn. Yes, The Diamond Eye coming in February. How exciting is this? First time in hardcover for Kate Quinn. It's historical fiction, which she does best. The Alice Network, The Huntress, The Rose Code. This is about World War II. It's about a Russian girl who became history's most deadly female sniper. She was working as a librarian in her university when she put down her books, picked up her gun, and answered the call. So many things I want to say. But Ludmila Pavlichenko, she was a mild-mannered single mother. Oh, my God. Went down the rabbit hole last night reading about her, and just so fascinating. She was a single mother. She was with this man when she was 15 years old and became pregnant and has this little boy, and the father's sort of out of the picture. And it's so good. He's just he's such a lousy guy, and she has to be mother and father to this child, which is way better than this guy could ever be. And so there's a scene in the book where she just says he wants to show this 5-year-old kid how to be a marksman. She's like, the gun is bigger than he is. And of course, he's shaming the boy because he can't do it. And at that moment, she says, I'm going to be your mother and your father, and I'm going to show you how to shoot. And she learned how to shoot a little bit herself. And so that was sort of, packed away, and she unpacks it. So she's a mild-mannered single mother in grad school. She dreams of being a historian once she finishes her dissertation, but then the Nazi invasion of Russia sent her on this different path, where she earned the nickname Lady Death. She racked up a tally of 309 kills. She also went on a goodwill tour of America in 1942 and befriended none other than Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt is in this book in a big way. And so, I went down the Google rabbit hole to look for pictures. I don't know what will be included in the book, so I didn't include them in the presentation because ultimately I don't know. But you can Google this, and it's fascinating to see these pictures of this woman with all of these soldiers, and she's striking, and she's not anything that you would expect. Whatever you've got in your head, just go look her up. It's very cool. So anyway, this is, as I say, it's based on a true story, and it's about, it's real heroism born out of desperation, and about a mother who became a soldier and a woman who found her place in the world and changed the course of history forever. So that's The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn. And Mercy Street. Oh my God, who doesn't love Jennifer Haigh? If you've never read Jennifer Haigh, start with Mrs. Kimball, and you will. Any fans out there who've read Mrs. Kimball? So good, so good. And she has gone on to, she's written several other novels, and this, love Mrs. Kimball. Who's that? Julie. So good. Yes, it is. She's written Heat and Light, Baker Towers. Her books have won the Penn Hemingway Award for debut fiction, the Penn Winship Award for New England writers. She is a beautiful, beautiful writer. So smart, so exacting, and just great economy with her words, but such heart. This book is about a women's clinic, and the author herself had volunteered not terribly long ago at a women's clinic, and so she was living in a town that was very conservative, and banners and signs all over the place, and anti-abortion. And so she had to deal with that. But also she was dealing with the stories of the women. They came in for lots of different things, for prescriptions for birth control pills, for lots of things. But of course, they were coming in for abortions too. And so she was getting their stories. And she writes a great piece in Edelweiss about what that experience was like, and then how she put that into this novel about this woman, Claudia, who is at the heart of this story, who works at this clinic and comes up against anti-abortionists and what that entails, and it's really, really powerful. Jennifer Haigh is just a beautiful, beautiful writer, and having had that experience, the main character in Mercy Street is a counselor who's privy to the women and their stories. And Jennifer's feeling is, if you're gonna have an argument, you better know what you're talking about. And so many times the stories of the women are sort of cast aside for, the bigger mission, which is anti-abortion. So really, really powerful. I can't say more than that, but just look at that quote from Janet Maslin. She's a brilliant writer. That's Mercy Street, Jennifer Haigh.
Okay, The Wise Women by Gina Sorrell. This is a big fiction publication for us. It's going to be book club fodder. It's great for fans of Cynthia D'Aprix Sweeney. I definitely thought of The Nest when reading this. And this is the story of the three wise women. First, Wendy Wise, who has been doing a kind of a relationship and advice column for almost 40 years. And her two daughters, who, despite all of Wendy's brilliant advice, her two grown daughters are kind of facing personal devastating consequences of their own. One daughter, Clementine, thought she owned her queen's house with her husband and 6-year-old boy, only to find out her husband has been funneling funds, and she's actually renting this house. Her husband's been basically stealing funds to help his startup. And her husband ultimately disappears and no one knows why. And then the other daughter, Barb, has an architecture firm, but she's just in an unhappy relationship. And they're just all struggling. And these three women come together. Wendy takes it upon herself to kind of fix these two grown women's lives. And it's a really fascinating inspection of how these women, identify themselves, how they kind of reconcile their actual lives with what their goals were growing up. And also some secrets that Wendy has of her own. It's really funny and smart and heartwarming. And there are pages and pages of raves for this book. Amanda Air Ward, author of The Jet Setter, says The Wise Woman is a smart and tender novel about how hard and vital it is to find a place where we belong. So we're so excited about this. It's coming in April.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm still having some issues here with my phone. Okay. Can you hear me? Good. Her Last Affair by John Searles. I love John Searles. Have you ever read Help for the Haunted or Strange But True? Oh my God. I love those books so much. He is such a smart writer. I feel like I'm saying that now about everybody, but it's so true. He's a New York Times bestselling and award-winning author. His books have been published over a dozen languages, voted by Best of the Year by, the Globe, Entertainment Weekly, Salon. He's been a huge supporter of American Library Association. And his first book, made the Help for the Haunted, was one of the 10 books that was listed on the very first Library Reads list. I will never forget getting that news that his book, which is such a haunting, scary book, made the Library Reads list. I was in a meeting and I ran out. I couldn't believe it. That was back in September of 2013. And Strange But True, which is another really good book, that was adapted for film on Netflix in 2019. So if you can watch that, you totally should, because it's really good. So this is long awaited, and but worth the wait. This is a twisty psychological suspense novel, which he does so well, and it's the intertwining fates of three people. So we meet this woman who's a blind widow who owns these two cottages, and it's almost the whole thing takes place in an abandoned drive-in movie theater. And so Skyla is the blind widow, and her life starts to change when she rents out one of these cottages to this British, very charismatic man named Teddy. And then we meet Linnell, who is a very unhappily married and unemployed, thanks to this discovery of a youthful mistake from her past. And she's intrigued to receive an unexpected Facebook friend request from her old college flame, Teddy. See where we're going? And then there's Jeremy. He's unlucky in love and unhappy in life. He's a freelance journalist, and his luck begins to change when he's assigned to write a review of a new restaurant in Providence, Rhode Island. All this is taking place. Just happens to be the home of his unrequited former crush. So these are three people who are sort of, I don't know, little lost in love, and how their lives intersect. What do they all have in common? So they're seemingly unrelated, but they find their fates intertwining in ways they never could have imagined, and their pasts catch up with them. They start to realize that there are some mistakes they'll never be free of. It's part literary fiction and part suspense. The twists are very good, but the real driver of the book, the characters and the setting. It's haunting, really. When you look at the, John Searles has a Facebook page, and he's got a picture of a drive-in movie theater there, and it's just creepy because it's all dilapidated and shut down. But it is about love and hope and loneliness. And there's a great blurb from Chris Bojalian. So I'm not going to read it, but what does that tell you? I mean, Chris Bojalian is just crazy about this book, and you will be too when you read Her Last Affair by John Searles.
Okay, so The Betrayal of Anne Frank by Rosemary Sullivan. So this is a very big book for us, and it's very exciting to have this incredible nonfiction title on our list. You're going to be hearing about it. She's the author of 15 books, best known for her recent biography, Stalin's Daughter. It was published in 23 countries, and won the Biographers International Organization Pulitzer Award, among many others. And so now she takes on this new investigation, this new mission that was supposed to end on the 75th anniversary of Anne Frank's family being found out. And so the Diary of a Young Girl, Anne Frank's journal, I mean, it's required reading in schools, and everyone has touched it in some ways. There's over 30 million people who have read it. The writing just really showed us about that time and place and living in World War II Amsterdam. And so many books and plays and articles have been written and devoted to this story, but no one has ever really conclusively explained why these 8 people were able to hide for 2 years and then who gave them up. So now a retired FBI agent and a team of investigators have poured over tens of thousands of pages of documents, some never seen before, and interviewed descendants of people familiar with the Franks. And they use these methods that the FBI has put together. And as a cold case team, they pieced together really the months before this big arrest. And the book is just a perfect blend of like history and intrigue. You can keep turning those pages, but there's a lot of modern technological and forensic techniques that are applied to this really old evidence. And there's a promise of a good reveal in there. It's a disturbing conclusion about the betrayal. So you can look for it. Well, I don't want to say look forward, but you can be looking for that. And Rosemary really introduces the investigators in this book, explains the behavior of the captives and captors, and profiles the group of suspects. All the while, she's really bringing that lifetime of World War II Amsterdam to life and showing you what that's about. So this one's really, really big for us. Betrayal of Anne Frank by Rosemary Sullivan. And then next, I want to talk about Reclamation by Gail Jessup White. This is another important nonfiction title for us. Gail is the public relations and community engagement officer at Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's legendary estate. She's a former award-winning television reporter and anchor, and she's also a direct descendant of Jefferson, not only on one side, but on two, the Hemmings and the Hubbards. And we'll get into that in a second. But she had heard these stories growing up. She didn't really know like exactly how she was related, but she had always been told you're related to Thomas Jefferson. And so she was named a Jefferson Studies Fellow, and she discovered this family lore was actually correct. She went through DNA documents and DNA evidence and documents, and she learned that not only was she a descendant of Jefferson on his father's side, but she was also the great-great-great-granddaughter of Peter Hemmings, which is Sally Hemings' brother. So both sides. And in Reclamation, she really explains this remarkable journey to understand the heritage and reclaim it, and really like what it means to be a Black woman in America, what that reconciliation of legacy and racism, especially when your forefather literally wrote all of these ideals and not a lot of her ancestors were able to claim it in America. So what does that look like? And there's a really striking first part of the book right at the beginning where she talks about going from Monticello to see tourists going through this massive graveyard and seeing all of the descendants buried, and then like really close by that no one goes to visit is really overgrown, and it's with all of the ancestors of Sally Hemings and other people who lived on the estate that were forced to be there. And so it reconciles these two ideals, like how do we tell this truth and how do we make sure we're telling all of the family stories that lived there. So very excited about this one. And that is Reclamation by Gail Jessup White.
Okay, the sentence by Louise Erdrich, who needs no introduction, but she is Louise Erdrich. She just won the Pulitzer Prize for The Night Watchman. She is one of our most important authors working today. And every publication is a huge, exciting deal for book lovers everywhere. This one is going to be extra special in that it does take place primarily in a bookstore and follows an unforgettable woman, Tookie, who is an Ojibwe woman who spent time unjustly in prison, and upon her release finds community and work in the local Minneapolis, Minnesota bookstore, where she meets an incredible and colorful cast of characters. But what really is interesting about this book is there's this slight magical element, because what happens is one of the most longtime customers in this bookstore suddenly passes away. And then from All Souls Day, November 2019, through the following year, this customer, Flora, continues to appear to Tookie. And this is in the midst, of course, we know with Minneapolis and what happened 2019 to 2020, all these, turbulent social times. This book is not only tracking Tookie's own experience, reckoning with, the history of the Native populations in this area and her own relationship to that, but also all the social injustices that are woven in and throughout our society. Louisa can tackle huge topics with the most delicate and beautiful touch. This is going to be no different. It's just a huge publishing event for us, and we're so excited to see it come to publication. So that's coming November 9th. That's a sentence. And then me again, Lucy Foley, one of the best doing mysteries today. We love Lucy Foley, you know her from the guest list and the wedding party. She just keeps on upping the ante. She's just brilliant. And this is everything you love about Lucy Foley's books, but also with the added benefit of taking place in a Paris apartment. So it follows a young woman who's trying to kind of get away from a life she's not happy with. And her half-brother says she can stay at his apartment in Paris. Only when she gets there, it's beautiful, interesting cast of people around, but her brother is nowhere to be found. And thus the mystery is set forth. Where is her brother? Who are these people? Everyone's hiding something. Who's the real suspect? So again, this is going to be huge. We just love Lucy Foley. So that's coming in February. And that's leads us to our next big event.
Yes. So I want to introduce our author guest. I have this slide up. It'll be up after she talks. So don't worry about getting it all read right now. But very excited about this book. And I'm going to move it to just me. And very excited to welcome Wanda Morris. Hi, Wanda.
Hey.
Hi. This book, your debut, All Her Little Secrets, is our lead read for the season. And I'm just so excited about it. I know all three of us love it so much. There's so much in-house praise for it. The reviews are pouring in, and I'm not saying pouring lightly. It's like actually raining cats and dogs, including Karen Slaughter, who calls it a brilliantly nuanced but powerhouse exploration of race, the legal system, and the crushing pressure of keeping secrets. Morris brings a vibrant and new voice to the thriller space. I mean, another Atlanta author. Both of you live in Atlanta. That's an amazing quote. We love Karen. So before you tell us a little bit about the book, I'm going to do a little intro for you. So I'm going to talk about you for a second, okay? Mm-hmm. So Wanda is the alumna of the Yale Writers Workshop and Robert McKee's Story Seminar. She's a member of Sisters in Crime and Mystery Writers of America. She's a corporate attorney and has worked in the legal departments of several Fortune 100 companies. Previously served as president of the Georgia chapter of the Association of Corporate Counsel and the founder of its Women Initiative, a empowerment program for female in-house lawyers. And I can't wait for you to tell them more about All Her Little Secrets. So I'm going to hand it to you.
Thanks, Lainey. Hi, everyone. I am so proud to be HarperCollins Fall 2021 lead read for All Her Little Secrets. All Her Little Secrets is, how do I describe it? It's a book with a hefty dose of mayhem, a few dead bodies, a dash of social commentary. So if you like all those things, this book will not disappoint. It is the story of a Black lawyer who finds herself caught in the crosshairs of a really dangerous conspiracy after the unexpected death of her boss. Elise Littlejohn seemingly has everything going for her. She is a well-paid attorney living and working in Midtown Atlanta. She's got a great group of friends. But one cold January morning, she goes into the executive suite for a meeting with her boss, and she finds him dead of a gunshot. And she does the unthinkable. She walks away as if she's seen nothing at all. And the reason why she walks away is because she's got a cachet of dark secrets of her own, including a small town past and a kid brother who has spent some time on the other side of the law. Soon after, she's promoted to replace her boss. It's a job she's always craved. However, once she gets into the executive suite, things take a turn for the worse. People begin to gossip. The police begin to investigate that mysterious death. And she can't shake the feeling that there is something off about this promotion. Suddenly, her lives start to collide between her personal life and her professional life. And now she has to race to save a brother she tried to save years ago and stop this conspiracy that starts to come to light. People have asked me, why did I write this book? And it is a book that has kind of been in the back of my mind for a long time. But primarily I wrote it because I love thrillers, but I didn't see the kinds of thrillers that I wanted to read. Thrillers with smart, sophisticated Black women who are running around chasing down the bad guys without a gun or an ounce of regret. And so I wrote this book. I knew when I set out to write the book, there were a few things that I wanted to accomplish. First, of course, I wanted to write a twisty mystery with women caught up in the snare of it. And this book does just that. In this book, there are several women on any number of journeys of their own. And the story is told in dual timelines so that the reader gets a sense of who Elise really is and who those other women were in her life and how they shaped who she became. The other thing I wanted to accomplish when I set out to write this book is I wanted to explore the New South versus the Old South. And essentially, there not being a lot of meaningful difference between the two. I placed Elise in a situation that really asked the question, is there any difference between the two? When you think about it, Elise is a complicated character because she is a Black woman who is living a dual life of sorts, that of a professional career woman, but also that of a Black woman in America. In this story, I also asked the question, what would you do if you were a woman, particularly a woman of color, and you go to work every day with a group of people who despise you because of your gender and or your color? And they constantly put roadblocks and obstacles in your way. Or you're a 14-year-old girl and you have one shot at escape from bleak poverty that you live in. What would you do? And I answered both those questions, and you'll find out if you read all her little secrets, which I hope you will. Thanks so much for your time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Wanda.
Thank you.
Wanda, we're so excited for you, and the three of us are just so crazy about this book and the message and the compelling stories and these really these beautifully drawn characters. And it's just you can't put this one down. I wish we had a ton more time but if you want to tell that library story really fast, it's pretty quick. Can you do it in a minute and change?
Well, libraries and librarians are some of my favorite places and people. And interestingly enough, when I started to write this book, I wrote it in the library. I would leave my job because I was still working. I would leave my job at lunchtime every day and go around to the library around the corner and write for an hour and a half. It was like my, midday writing retreat. And I sat in the same spot in a carrel in the back of the Vinings Library. Yay, thank you, Vinings branch. In the corner, by the window, by the electrical plug for my computer. And every day I went in there. And one day I walked in, kind of waved at the librarians and headed to the back. And it was like one of those cartoon characters where I just kind of stopped because there was this guy sitting in my carrel in my seat. And it was kind of like, what the heck do I do? Like, I was stunned, and it took me like a minute to realize I can't ask this guy to get up. Like, that's my seat, and that's where I'm writing my book. So I kind of stumbled over and sat down at another carrel, but I suddenly realized I had grown attached to this library. And like, I tried to write those scenes that day, and they just didn't work as easily. So I needed my carrel. I needed my library, my window. But for other authors, I don't recommend getting that attached to a library. I love my library, but like, that's really attached.
You're just trying to get where you can have it all to yourself. So you're like, don't get attached. It's mine.
I think those librarians in the Vinings branch were really looking out for me, because that didn't happen anymore. So I'd only had that happen 2 times. Every other time I went in there, my seat was free. So I think they were looking out for me. Yay, librarians.
Well, they're looking out for you. We're looking out for you, and you're looking out for us. It's a kind of a nice, it's a nice community, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. It really is. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Wanda.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
You too.
So we're going to go back to the slides, and I just want to remind everyone that the eGalley is available on NetGalley and Edelweiss, and the Library Reads deadline is October 1st. So you have plenty of time to read it. It is a page turner. It is so amazing, and for a debut, it's wild. You're going to enjoy it so much.
It's true. I keep saying this, but I always kept thinking this can't be a debut. It just didn't feel like a debut, Yeah. Anyway, my God, we're so behind, but there's so much to talk about. Okay, let's talk about upcoming door-to-door interviews. Oh my God, we're so excited. Every Tuesday, or sometimes Thursday, but these are all, 2 Thursdays, 2 Tuesdays. So I don't know, just follow us and like us, and you'll get reminders. But we have a lot of really cool authors coming up. Let's go back to the earlier slide. So Wanda is going to be on with Lori Rader Day. That book is so good, Death at Greenway. And Don Winslow, we have him coming up on July 22nd. Rom-coms on the 15th, and then Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, and I Hope This Finds You Well. That is going to be, we're psyched about these. Is there anything you guys want to say? No.
I can't see you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then
Incredible.
In September, next slide, we have Ann Patchett and Elizabeth McCracken, and they're just going to be chatting, and that's going to be so much fun. Lainey, that's in September 7th, so mark your calendars. Don Winslow, yes, so come, tell everybody. Did you guys talk about, I was having a panic attack with my computers. I have 17 of them in my bedroom right now because it's so profesh. Did you talk about Jeffrey Archer and Anthony Horowitz?
Only people in the comments were just saying how much they loved it, and I told them we would get to it.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, all right. So let's continue, but please do check out Door to Door.
Well, I just want to say really quickly that Janet Lockhart is a big fan of These Precious Days, and I don't know if I have time to read a tiny bit of her quote.
Do read it. It's beautiful.
Okay. So she said, in these, Janet Lockhart from North Carolina, These Precious Days, Ann Patchett has written a page-turning collection of essays. Once I started reading, I could not stop, and when I was done, I wanted to start over. So much heart expressed in limpid prose, and so beautiful, it make you want to weep. So I don't know what else can we say? You got to come on September 7th, because it's Janet. That was a beautiful quote.
And Ann Patchett.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes. Love. Okay. And there, Chris, or somebody just put some in. Oh, okay. Look, we go. Oh my God. Everything's coming together. All right. So you can sign up for all of our Facebook Live events in the chat room. And here is brilliant banter with Jeffrey Archer and Anthony Horowitz. They were just supposed to talk to each other for a couple of minutes, and then one was going to go in the green room and the other one was going to talk about their book, and that did not happen, and it was hilarious. And I never asked a single question. It was the easiest interview of my life, but it was just so entertaining. And these are some of the comments in the chat room. So you guys can go back and watch that on Facebook Live. It's also on YouTube. I don't know if we have a YouTube channel. I don't know if it's here or not, but everything that we've done is on YouTube if you're not on Facebook. So, but it was just took off. It had a life all its own. It had its own zip code. It was just genius. And they just sparred with each other with great love and respect and ribbing. It was super fun. Highly recommend. Yes, they were amazing, Carla Sudo. Yes. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. You guys go.
Yeah, so I don't know how many of you were able to join us for this event in the Spotlight, which was Tuesday, June 29th, with these three incredible female authors, Tamron Hall, Lori Rader Day, and Sarah McLean. It's available on Crowdcast, where you're at right now, or on YouTube, on Facebook. It's just, I mean, three different genres, of course, but I think each of them brings something so unique and brilliant for their respective genres and stories. We love all three of these authors. And Tamron Hall capping it off, she just brings such heft and insight into her story. But again, all three are not to be missed. So do check the replay out. All our links are there. So yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, and just quickly, the link for this is up because we were able to share it. But at ALA, we had a on-demand program with Juhei Kim, Roxanne Van Nipperen, and Vanessa Riley. We did just tales from around the world, and it was amazing. And these authors, like themselves talking, didn't want to get off because they just kept revealing things. They're like, we want to talk about that. And we were, like I said, courtesy of ALA, we got to share it on our Facebook page. So that link is there for you on your handout. And it was a wonderful talk, and we wanted to highlight that for you guys. So we also had a lot of other great ALA author events too, but this one was special. So I hope you guys go back and listen.
For sure.
Oh, just quickly, we had an amazing Instagram takeover by Casey Wilson, actor, writer, and you probably recognize her from SNL. It was hilarious. She also had a great librarian story. I'm not going to spoil. You can go watch the video, but it has to do with how she wrote the book, and that stuck with her as something that happened. And then Friday, the 16th, we have another one, the author of Columbiana. Get ready for some mouth-watering photos. That one, please tune in. We do these every Friday, and it's a cool way to see inside the author's writing space and learn about the book. So keep an eye out, and you can follow us on Instagram at Harper Library.
Thanks, Lainey. Yeah, and I just want to say that there in the comments that Rachel says Sisters of Auschwitz is amazing, and Catherine said it was an ALA highlight. I'm so happy to hear you say that, because they're all great. All of these things that we just, we have this great content, and we don't want it to just sit there. We want to remind people that it's there, and we're pulling out the stuff that's really exceptional. And those things, the Tamron and the Sarah and the Lori, and then Jeffrey and Anthony. I'm best friends with them, calling them all by their first name. But honestly, and the ALA program was just stellar. So do check it out. As Lainey said, the links are there. Okay. Fruit Punch by Kendra Allen. So you may have heard Kendra Allen we just published her debut poetry collection, which is on sale now, getting huge raves. Essence Magazine said Kendra Allen's poems examine how religion and hierarchy inform the spaces Black women and girls inhabit, and how we blow past those boundaries, swimming toward the horizon, even as the undertow threatens to pull us in another direction. I love that. I love that quote. Time Magazine says Kendra Allen is a poet to watch. Well, now she's got, this is her memoir, and it is about this young Black woman in the South, taking place in the 90s and early 2000s. She is a one-of-a-kind millennial. She's growing up in Dallas, Texas, and she's had this complicated, loving, and intense family life that's filled with desire and community, but also undercurrents of violence and turmoil. She finds herself, she's trying to make her way through the world, is what she's doing, and she finds herself slowly discovering outlets to help navigate growing up against expected performance of being a young Black woman in the South. It's a complex, it's an interplay of race and class and gender, and it touches on everything from beauty and how we form concepts of ourselves, and it's just a stunning achievement. It's a memoir born of love and endurance, of fight or flight. She takes on religion and family life and inherited trauma and girlhood and sexuality, and she's young and brilliant and has such a beautiful way with words. I love this jacket too. I just think this is a really arresting memoir from a really powerful voice. That's Fruit Punch by Kendra Allen. Goes on sale in April. So we've got some time here. We're talking about books that are coming out and then books that are coming out way down the road, but we want you to know about them. And that's one that you're going to be hearing a lot about, along with the collection plates. Check that out. Great poetry collection.
Okay, so The Teller of Secrets by B.C. Adjepon. So this is a new voice to look out for. This is part of a new and emerging group of writers from West Africa whose work has become more recognized. This is her American debut. And there's so many wonderful quotes, but I just wanted to point out this one from Maza Mengiste, who says, who's author of The Shadow King, says, which was shortlisted for the Booker Prize in 2020. It says, melding blistering humor with razor-sharp insight, The Teller of Secrets heralds a marvel of a writer, one capable of deftly balancing questions of sexuality, politics, and feminism in a novel that is a pure joy to read. So Essie in this book, this novel, is the main character, and she's the unofficial secret keeper of the family, including the big secret that her father has a lot of, he's an affair, and so she keeps it a secret. And when she later becomes humiliated for her own sexual exploration, she's punished for something that happens, and she kind of begins to question then why women's secrets and men's secrets really bear a lot of different consequences for everybody. And so she's trying to reconcile her own ideals and dreams with this like complicated realization she's coming to, but also a crazy history and dynamics of her family. And then also, like I said, society's double standards. So she's trying to put all of these together. It's, coming of age, trying to figure that out. And it's also set against a really fraught political climate. And as she fights to kind of carve out her own identity, she has to find where she finds her power in herself. It's really fresh and distinctive. Like I said, a new voice you want to watch out for, and bringing new light to that part of the world. And we also have her second book, Daughter in Exile, coming in the fall of 2022. So we're hoping it's going to be a great position for us, and we're going to just blow her out as a really important house author. So that is Teller of Secrets. And then, this is the one I teased earlier. I'm very excited. This is Woman Eating by Claire Coda. So this is one of my favorite reads of the season. And this one is so funny and darkly humorous, yet there's so much going on underneath. It's a really unique story. It's a debut from an own voices author, and the editor told me that she received this the day before Thanksgiving last year, preempted it that Saturday after Thanksgiving, and because she just had a feeling, and then it turns out it was a good feeling because she heard on Monday that like all of these other publishers are putting these major deals together, and she just really connected quickly with her, and that was wonderful. And so it's now the rights have been bought for a film in a film auction. Heyday Films that did like the Harry Potter movies. They've gotten it and already finished a script for the first episode of a limited series. So very exciting. And in this book, the main character's name is Lydia. She's biracial and half vampire. Yes, half vampire, but stay with me. And she can't seem to satiate herself, both her hunger and her feeling for being an outsider. She can't really fill up any of those feelings. And she can't digest food in a normal way. So she kind of looks out to her favorite pastime, which is watching cooking videos, especially of Japanese food, which is from her father's heritage. And she can't eat that, obviously, but it just looks so good to her. And so now this hunger is really growing in her, and she's going to have to do something about it. And she's kind of squatting in this artist collective, trying to do her own art. She goes to an internship at this wild art house. It's really fun. And she's on her own for the first time without her mom. And so she's really alone, and she's trying to find that community. But the friends don't come easily. And instead she creates her art and goes just watches like Buffy episode, rewatches them. So she's just kind of on her own. But balancing this new life with the ever-present internal fight of her half-demon side takes up most of this book. And it's perfect for the millennial crowds, but really just anyone with a little existential dread. She talks about that a lot. And overall, it's a wonderful exploration of belonging and finding yourself. And I knew it was for me when it was launched as Twilight meets my year of rest and relaxation. A lot of early praise and that great quote on the slide. So I'll be quiet, but I love this one so, so much. So I hope you check it out.
Oh, the wit and wisdom of Bridgerton. How many Bridgerton fans do we have out there? A lot. This is from the #1 New York Times bestselling author, Julia Quinn. It's a highly designed, colorful collection of quotes, wit and wisdom, as the title says, from the memorable characters of the books and, of course, the series. There are excerpts from all 8 books, as well as new original material from Julia Quinn, who talks about her thoughts on the whole Bridgerton series and the success of Netflix. So from Daphne to Simon to Penelope to Colin, fans will enter the Bridgerton world in a completely new way with a fresh and intimate perspective of each character. It's beautifully designed. We've seen some pages, and it's just absolutely lovely. And so readers will love the twists and the turns of the books, taking or not taking the advice on love, family, etiquette, and fashion from these unforgettable and beloved characters. So that is the wit and wisdom. Just bring back the Duke. Hey-oh. Okay. That's the wit and wisdom of Bridgerton, Julia Quinn.
So Asking for a Friend by Andy Osho. So this one is super fun, rom-com, a hilarious debut. Andy is an actress, filmmaker, stand-up comedian. I watched her spot on Graham Norton, and it was hilarious, so you can look that up. This book is about 3 friends who decide it's time to ditch the dating apps, play by their own rules, and they're going to ask people out for each other. There's a 40-something Jemima who's trying to get away from X, a 20-something Megan who's looking for a new phase in her plan to get her life going, and then Simi is 30-something, and she really is looking for the right one after a lot of bad experiences. Beth O'Leary, who wrote The Flat Share, said witty, pacey, and joyful, uplifting celebration of friendship. And it will appeal to Alicia Rye's readers, and Andy reads the audiobook herself, and it makes for a really, really fun listen, laugh out loud. And we're looking forward to working with her and bringing her a U.S. audience. So that is Asking for a Friend by Andy Osho.
Okay, Midnight in Everwood by M.A. Kuzniar. This is from the author of the children's series, The Ship of Shadows. And this is basically a dark version of The Nutcracker for adults, for fans of the Night Circus. And this takes place in 1906 Nottingham and follows a young woman who dreams to be a ballerina, but her days are dwindling. She's expected to kind of join society, get married. But a mysterious man moves near into this townhouse, Dr. Drosselmeyer, and he has this dark magic that kind of allows Marietta to, one, have her final ballet performance in spectacular and fantastical fashion, but she also finds herself swept into a world completely unlike anything she's ever known. So M.A. Kuzniar is a huge fan of the Nutcracker, and she really wanted to do that justice. It was inspired by her love of ballet. So this is, again, a dark reimagining of the Nutcracker that's going to be just perfect for the season. And we're really excited to bring it to publication. So this is coming January.
Okay, an exciting one. So The Memory Librarian by Janelle Monáe. You may know her as a singer, songwriter, actor, TV producer, fashion icon, futurist. She's so many things to her name, and she's really just so amazing. And this is her cyberpunk story collection titled The Memory Librarian, which accompanies her critically acclaimed 3rd LP and emotion picture that she did. So this is a extension of Dirty Computer is what it was called. So this will feature a wide array of talented collaborating creators, which have not been announced yet, but there will be 5, and they're all BIPOC writers who have published before, either comics or books, and they're working with Janelle to kind of make it a cohesive book. Dirty Computer introduced the world to the thoughts that, like, as a means of self-conception, so you could be controlled or erased by a select few. So some people are in control of your thoughts. And so now everyone is dictating, like someone else can dictate your fate and what they think is right, until Jane 57821 comes in and remembers and breaks free. So expanding on that story, the stories in this book will explore what it's like to live in that totalitarian existence. And Janelle said, as a reader and writer of science fiction since childhood, it's a dream to have the opportunity to expand Dirty Computer into a literary project. Writers, Black, queer, and queer gender writers are at the forefront of pushing the creative boundaries of sci-fi and speculative storytelling. And so she's just honored to be bringing that together. And I'm a big fan of hers. And this seems like something, no pun intended, just otherworldly. It's so grand. And we're very excited to have her on our list.
Okay, Termination Shock by Neil Stephenson. I'm a huge Neil Stephenson fan. He always makes me feel far smarter and more intelligent than I am. And he always tackles issues that are what people are going to be talking about, next year. He's always just like ahead of the curve as far as where his futuristic ideas come from. And this is another sweeping speculative fiction title from him that has real world implications. So this is about geo and climate engineering, essentially. It really starts off in a near future America where temperatures are rising to regularly around 130 degrees. Does that sound familiar? And nations that are threatened by sea level rises and changes are trying to kind of discern what they're going to do. And one lone guy in Texas decides to start shooting missiles with sulfur into the atmosphere to cool down the planet. And what Neil does so brilliantly is, again, he takes you along for like how this real world science would actually work, but also the geopolitics that go along with that, and how nations that maybe, how does climate change and climate engineering affect one nation, but how does it reciprocate and maybe negatively impact another nation? So there's a cast of characters at the center of it who are, kind of, navigating this, but it's all done in this really sweeping kind of action-packed way. You'll always learn a lot, but you're also just along for the ride. So I think all of his books are really important and eye-opening, and this is no different. So I'm really excited about it. It's coming in November.
Okay, Beautiful Little Fools by Gillian Cantor. So USA Today bestselling author Gillian Cantor is back. This is so wonderful, and she does such a great job of taking historical books and events, figures, and pointing the story towards the strong women in those narratives. And her new book is doing just that, and it's reimagining The Great Gatsby. I know, if you're a fan of The Great Gatsby, this is so exciting. And if you're not, it doesn't matter. I've read it. You don't have to be a fan of the book for a great story, but obviously it's appealing to those fans that love The Great Gatsby. So it starts on the last day of the original book, The Great Gatsby, in 1922. Jay Gatsby has been shot dead in his West Egg swimming pool. Sorry that that's a spoiler, but it's in the public domain now. And it appears to be an open and shut case from the authorities. So it looks like murder and then suicide by George Wilson. And then they find a diamond hairpin in the bushes by the pool. And so 3 women close to Gatsby fall under suspicion. And we have Daisy Buchanan, who thought she might marry Gatsby. He's been the object of affection, but a family tragedy tore them apart. We have Jordan Baker, Daisy's best friend, but she has a big secret that derailed her golf career. And then Catherine McCoy is a suffragette, and she's fighting for independence, but she is a sister of Myrtle Wilson. And their stories just really unfold up to that fateful summer. So all 3 are just kind of on the brink of unraveling all these secrets in their past. And there's so many quotes, like you see the great Quinn one on the cover, but it's just an amazing book that's going to give a voice to the women. We all talked about this when this book launched. Is like rereading it. It's like, what were the women thinking? Like they're not always given the spotlight in that story, and so it's exciting to hear why they made the decisions they did. Why they can we understand that? And you got to love the title. You know exactly what it's talking about, and the cover is also gorgeous. It's going to be revealed on 7/15, the official reveal, and it's gorgeous. So that one's really exciting, and that's Beautiful Little Fools by Gillian Cantor, coming out in January. Okay, and then this one is How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. So this is another one of my favorites. It's so, so beautiful. It's a lyrical novel featuring a collection of stories about a near future where people are experiencing or have experienced a world-altering plague. The people in the stories sometimes intersect, traveling through time and space to show how people in general cope with loss, finding a new place to call home, finding love when it seems impossible to love again. It begins in 2030. A grieving archaeologist uncovers he arrives at the Arctic Circle because they have uncovered this crater that his deceased daughter's late daughter was working on. So he's there to kind of fill her shoes. And they're researching this long buried permafrost that is coming out, and it preserved the remains of a girl who died from an ancient virus. Now there's an Arctic plague in the world, and it's going to reshape life on Earth for generations. Benjamin Percy, the author of Darknet, I think says it so well. He says, Arctic plagues, euthanasia, themes parks, hotels for the dead, talking pigs, interstellar starships. It's brave and precedent, completely bananas, and yet absolutely moving, packed with humor and heart. I loved it. That's an amazing quote, and I think it tells you all of the wackiness that it would take so long for me to go into, because I think it's a great book club book in some ways, because you're really going to want to dive in. I know we did between us. And I had reservations about a plague book, and I know you're probably all thinking that, and you see the real news, but it's really not about the plague and not like a thriller, like how that actually works. It's more comforting in some ways because it was exploring real people going through family drama and relationships during a really terrible world destroying event. We can all relate. And plague aside, it really does focus on the people, and it brought me to tears several times. It is a gorgeous read, and there's a wonderful behind the book where he talks about how it took him over a decade to write it, so he didn't do it in the pandemic. And although it's fiction, it really pulls from his personal losses, his identity as a third-generation Japanese American, and a lifelong love affair with the stars. So it is just so grand, and I hope you give it a chance. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I just want to echo Lainey. I forgot about the talking pig, which sounds like it'd be humorous. It's completely heart-wrenching, every part of that. If you're like a George Saunders fan, that like deeply felt humanity, it's for you. It's so good. So next up is Valorio by Xavier Navarro Aquino. And this is a very important publication for us. We're going to be publishing this simultaneously in both English and Spanish. And it's September is going to be marking the 4-year anniversary of Hurricane Maria. And this is the story of the people on the ground who fought for their own humanity, for their own survival in Puerto Rico, and kind of tried to reestablish their own sense of identity. So this is an own voices story. Xavier was born there, and he just gives this deeply felt humanity, starting with this one woman who is essentially taking her deceased sister Marisol with her across the island to basically find refuge. She can't leave her sister alone, so she takes her with her. And through her journey, you find kind of this cult that's forming around this very charismatic and idealistic leader who has visions for peace and prosperity for his people, but he is also a cult leader, and there are some very perilous decisions that are made for him and for the people who are surrounding him. So again, it's very character driven and it's so heartfelt, but also clear eyed about, the issues that Puerto Rico faces, its relationship and history with the United States. It's a very, very special book, and there are pages and pages of raves already in for this. We're really honored to be publishing it. There's a lot of excitement at HarperCollins. So I'm really excited to get some reads on it. So this is coming in January.
Brad Meltzer. I love Brad Meltzer, and we're so excited to have him back at HarperCollins. He began his career there at William Morrow in 1997, and now we have the second in his Zig and Nola series. So, he writes for everybody. He writes for kids. He writes for adults. He is so warm-hearted, and it comes across in his writing and with his characters. It's just not your cookie cutter thriller. I mean, he really gives his characters such heart and warmth. And he's one of the loveliest people I've ever met. And he loves libraries. He's spoken at ALA and the Texas Library Association. And so let us know if you want him, because he delivers on every level. So this is, as I say, this is the second. The first book in the Zig and Nola series, which we did not publish, was The Escape Artist, and that debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. So now we've got #2, and this book opens up with this man Archie Mint, who is a great big military guy, and he's going to an event, and he turns his car over to the guy who's going to park it for him, and instead the guy takes it and finds out where he lives, because he speaks to the car and says, "Let's go home." And so the car says, "Okay," and takes him home, and then he starts to rob him. And Archie Mint comes into the house. He knows that something's up. He's forgotten his jacket. He's gone back to the house, and there's the robbery in progress. And so you think that that's the end of that. No, Archie buys it too. And so when he's killed during the robbery, that's just the beginning. Because as I say, he had a successful military career, but when Zig, who's the mortician, is working on Archie Mint's body, he discovers something that he was never meant to see. And it's a detail that leads him to the Dover Air Force Base. Oh my God, the research on this book is amazing. Where he uncovers Mint's involvement in this top secret military unit and his connection to military artist Nola Brown, who is a character that flies off the page. You've got these two great characters. She's mysterious and enigmatic, and he's got the heart of a lion, stops at nothing to protect those he loves. And she had saved his life in the first book. So you've got this great story with these returning characters, and in a way that only Brad Meltzer can tell it. So we're just excited to have this book back, to have this author with us and this series with us. Lots more to come. This book is coming out in March. So we've got time. You'll be hearing more and more about it, but that's A Lightning Rod by Brad Meltzer. So excited.
Okay, so No Second Chances by Rio Ewers. This is a new crime thriller from critically acclaimed author Rio Ewers, and it was first, we published his last book, Lola on Fire, and that was such a fun read. I encourage you to go back and read it, and so very excited for the next one. And the newest book, it kind of has the same feeling, very action-packed thriller, got the gore in there if you're a fan of that, and so we have Luke Kingsley in this book. His glory days are past. He's a once up-and-coming actor, and his career kind of goes off the rails when his wife, also famous, has disappeared without a trace. And their relationship was very public, often tempestuous, and most people, including an ex-detective, are really convinced he got away with murder. And the only person that really believes him that he's innocent is his confidant, Kitty Ray. And he thinks she's just a courier who's delivering correspondence to businesses in LA. In reality, she's running product for a notorious drug dealer to the rich and famous. And she's caught skimming off the top a little. So she's in trouble now, and Luke steps up to help her, but it takes them on this journey, and it goes through a lot of violence and corruption, but also he thinks he might have found some more information on his wife's disappearance. And so you go across the Mojave Desert and you find them, just like I said, it's a great journey, a fun thriller, and they have someone hot on their trails. So hope they don't find them. And that is No Second Chances by Rio Ewers, coming out in February.
Hello, it's me. I'm putting my face back on. Should I put my face back on? Are we blocking images? I don't know. Somebody tell me. Okay, The Cat Who Saved Books by Suzuki Natsukawa. Books, bookstores, cats. What else do you need to know? This is a charming bestseller from Japan for fans of The Guest Cat and The Traveling Cat Chronicles. We have been talking about this book, not blocking very much. Maybe I should really? I'm okay? Okay. So a high schooler is about to close the secondhand bookstore that he has inherited when a talking cat enlists his aid, liberating unloved books from neglectful owners. From a man who leaves his books to perish on a bookshelf unread, guilty, to an unwitting book torturer who cuts up books to encourage speed reading, and a publishing drone who only wants to create bestsellers. This is a fantastical story about books, first love, and an unusual friendship between a boy and a cat. It's gentle, it's contemplative. The book, do you love this jacket? I love this jacket. It's illustrated by a Japanese artist, and the book was written by a Japanese physician. This was #1 bestseller in Japan. What else can I tell you? It's a warm story about the value of books. It's absolutely beautiful. It can be considered YA. It's almost YA, but it has a simplicity and a Japanese charm that makes it work as both for a general wider audience. And it's just absolutely beautiful and faithful to the cat in the story. We love it. So that's The Cat Who Saves Books.
Okay, Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. So speaking of YA crossover, this is the first entry in a epic fantasy duology. The second one will actually be coming fall 2022. So this is going to be a big publication, very bingeable. And you can see the S.A. Chakraborty quote. I think any of you who are such supporters of the City of Brass, which I know so many librarians loved, you're going to eat this up. It's really inspiring and beautifully written. And it's inspired by the legend of the Chinese moon goddess Chang'e. And it's about this young woman who is raised on the moon with her mother who can't leave. She's trapped. And this young woman doesn't know why she can't leave. She's just trying to exist until she starts to kind of embody these really powerful magical forces, which tips off the celestial emperor, who has been kind of looking for this powerful young woman, and now he knows where she is. And this sets off this kind of there's a romantic involvement for this woman, Xingyin, and she has to escape into the celestial realm, which is so beautiful and just high concept, but really believable at the same time. There's, again, great interpersonal dynamics between Xingyin and the people she encounters along the way in her journey to evade capture and to kind of restake her claim to this land. There's so many incredible quotes for this book already. I'm just going to read one by Shelley Parker Chan, who wrote She Who Became the Sun. This vivid, unputdownable debut effortlessly whisks us into the celestial realms of Chinese high fantasy. Tan magnificently conjures the romantic yet dangerous dazzle of this immortal world, but never loses track of the shining human heart of her tale. So again, this is a very important fantasy publication for us. We're so excited. And again, there won't be a long wait for the sequel coming fall 2022. So that's The Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. And then Me Again, Wahala by Nikki May. This was a hotly contested acquisition for us. It's a debut novel about 3 friends living in London, all very successful in their own way, but also harboring long-held, disappointments in their lives, certain tensions amongst themselves. They're all Anglo-Nigerian, and this is a book that's filled with food, I have to say, like food and just beautiful culture for these women. But again, they're all professionals. They're all in different stages of relationships. One is hoping to get married. She's dating a man who seems kind of dodgy, but she really hopes he's the one. Another one, Boo, already has a great husband and child, but she has certain secrets of her own. And then the last is Simi, who's just a kind of inspirational person. She's a really incredibly successful, but has imposter syndrome. But these tight-knit relationships are thrown into disarray when a 4th woman comes in who's charismatic, she's globetrotting, but she's also kind of destructive, and she really kind of seeds distrust and discord amongst these longtime friends. So it's a really sharp writing, great interpersonal dynamics and discussions amongst these women. Just so great, takes on professional women, friendship, ambition, and so much more. It's just vibrant and amazing. And the proof is in the read, and I loved it, and I know you will too. So this is coming in January. It's Wahala by Nikki May.
Okay, The Caretakers by Amanda Bester Siegel. This one we're very excited about. It's a debut novel. Set in Paris in 2015, a crowd gathers outside a home in an affluent suburban community, watching as a family, a Parisian family's American au pair is led away in handcuffs after the sudden death of her young charge. The grieving mother believes that the caretaker is to blame. Now the whole neighborhood is interested in who could be at fault, even blaming the mother herself. The truth lies within these 6 women that surround the family. That includes an isolated French teenager, a next-door au pair who recently was fired, this socialite mother, and a couple more, but most of all, Alina, the one accused of the crime, who has gone to great lengths to avoid emotional connection and now finds herself caught up in this turbulent power dynamics of her host family's household. So it's set during this week leading up to the event, and an exploration of this weight of secrets just really comes into play. There's miscommunications and misunderstandings that have fatal consequences. And it's just a great voice and great energy, literary fiction, but perfect for book clubs because it also opens with, a dead body, but there's this nuanced, complicated women at the center that force us to look beyond the mystery of the book and more into the reason for the murder than the whodunit part. But everybody's going to want to discuss that. And Amanda, the author, spent 4 years living abroad in France, some as an au pair, but she makes it very clear that she didn't have any of those terrible horror stories, thankfully, with her host family. But she did learn that there are a lot of subtle ways that people can miscommunicate through language, life experiences, and when you have this need to reinvent yourself, that can come off in certain ways too. So this one's really exciting for it's a debut. It's The Caretakers, and that comes out in April.
Okay, the next book is our lead read for the new season, and it's called Notes on an Execution by Dania Kukafka. Her debut novel was Girl in the Snow. It was a national bestseller, an indie next book pick, B&N Discover. She really hit the ground running with that book and continues that with this book, as evidenced by the fact that it's been selected as the lead read. This is literary suspense that deconstructs the story of a serial killer on death row by being told primarily through the eyes of the women in his life. And it explores the fissures that violence inevitably leave in its wake. I think why this book resonates so much with so many of us is because she's written a terrific behind the book piece on Edelweiss. Get a chance, you should read it. She's tired of hearing about Ted Bundy. Everybody knows who Ted Bundy is. What about these women whose lives were not lived out, who didn't get to keep going? What about them? So this is a novel, and you're learning about this man the clock is ticking, and he is going to be executed. And now we're looking back at his life as seen through his mother, the women in his life. And it's also what I appreciate about this book is that she does not include a lot of, it's not exploitative. There's not a lot of violence. It's understood, obviously, but this is really more about the women. The piece that she wrote in Edelweiss ends with her saying, I'm tired of seeing Ted Bundy's face. This is a book for the women who survive. That's what this book is about. And that's what I think makes this so compelling and so different and bubbles to the top for so many of us who read it and were just so blown away by this. With the clock ticking, I'm not going to spend much more time on it, but I'd love to. And you're going to hear more about this book. That's Notes on an Execution by Dania Kukafka.
The Murder Rule by Dervla McTiernan. So this is from international #1 bestseller, Dervla McTiernan. And her first two novels were critically acclaimed around the world. And the third book, The Good Turn, went on to #1 in the bestseller charts, confirming her place as Australia's best and most popular crime writers. And this is her new mystery. We meet 2 women on each side of a secret. Hannah has abandoned everything. Her trajectory as a law student, her childhood home, and caring for her ill mother. She abandoned it all for the chance to work with the Innocence Project. she'll do anything, whatever it takes to work on this case. She's passionate about reforming a corrupt and brutal system. She takes on this new case at work. And because Hannah has a secret, other things come into play. Nearly 3 decades before, her mother, Laura, abandoned everything too. She was a teenage runaway. She escaped to Maine for a fresh start and wanted to start working to make ends meet. And now Hannah is reckoning with these thin lines between something that happened in her mom's past and the justice and revenge lines blurring, and what working to save a man on death row actually means to her. And it's told in alternating timelines. The mother and daughter stories twist and turn into an explosive conclusion. And Derville is really strong in audio, so this will be one to listen to in audio. I thought I'd point that out that you might want to know. But we're very excited. The Murder Rule by Derville McTiernan comes out in March of 2022.
Okay, The Long Weekend by Gillian McMillan. I love Gillian McMillan so much. I just think her novels are all brilliant and different. Each one, you'll know her from What She Knew, The Perfect Girl, The Nanny, To Tell You the Truth. And she does multiple viewpoints, I think, with just such poise, and each view is just so fully thought out, developed, and unique. And she's continuing that with a good old-fashioned locked room mystery with The Long Weekend. So it's a group of friends, 4 friends, who are renting out this very remote place in England to kind of get back together, to reset. But one of the friends is gone. They're all very different. There's an ex-army vet who's kind of really hard and serious. There's a doctor who's really driven. There's a young newlywed. And then, of course, the missing friend, Eddie, who her husband died suddenly, and she didn't make this gathering. So this is a great setting in that it's a classic, they don't have cell phone service, and they suddenly receive a note that one of their husbands is going to end up dead before this weekend is over. And so it really delves into what each person is hiding, again, the resentments amongst this tight group of friends, and just who they really are, but again, told in different viewpoints. So it's going to be like that classic Gillian McMillan. I think she's just the best at that. And this will continue her run. So fans of Ruth Ware, Lucy Foley, this is going to be catnip for you. It's coming in March. So that's The Long Weekend by Gillian McMillan. Okay, and then another wildly talented mystery thriller author, Allison Galen. Her new novel is The Collective, and we're publishing her in hardcover. It's been a while since Allison has been in hardcover, but we think this is a breakout book for her that kind of has a revenge element to it. There's some violence, like Kill Bill. And she is, if you don't know, the Edgar Award-winning author of Never Look Back and If I Die Tonight. So this follows a grieving mother who, her daughter died under mysterious circumstances half a decade ago. But this mother, Camille, is still obsessed with the young man she thinks is responsible. He's this very successful man. He just received an award for med school. He seems to have it all together, and she's been following him closely. And she just has desire to enact revenge. And she finds herself invited to a group of women, the secret group of women, mothers primarily, who have the same intentions as her. These are women who've lost someone dear to them and who they don't feel that justice has been brought appropriately, and they want to take it into their own hands. And so Camille falls down the rabbit hole of this group where, what is justice, what's gone too far, and how do we decide who's guilty and who's innocent? So again, it's really, I think, kind of ripped from the headlines. It deals with social media and misinformation. And I think this Megan Abbott quote is great. It says, "It's a nerve-shredding, emotionally harrowing ride that also speaks volumes about our current moment, the dangers of our digital world, and the potency of female rage." Don't miss it. So good. I'm really excited about this book. There's pages of quotes, and it's coming in November. So eGalley is available now. Please check it out. It's really one of a kind.
Bright Burning Things by Lisa Harding. Oh my God, I love this book so much. This is from Harper Via, which Harper Via usually does books in translation, but it also publishes books written originally in English, but with a global feel, and this one has it. It's got the lyricism of the Irish novel. It's told in first person, and it's this heart-wrenching story about a woman who spirals out of control despite being responsible for her young son, Tommy, and their rescue dog. This author's first novel, Harvesting, won many awards, the 2018 Kate O'Brien Award. It was shortlisted for an Irish Book Award, the Kerry Group Irish Novel of the Year. This is her American debut. And it's about a mother who is struggling with alcoholism and how she is trying to keep from losing her son. And there, you can see me, right? There, this is how many pages there are of quotes. It is endless. It is endless. And it is all love. I have to read this one to you, because I felt the same way. I used the word claustrophobic when I was reading it. And then I read this quote by Lisa Taddeo, who also used the word claustrophobic. Oh God, on every page, there are little shimmering bombs. As a mother, I read it thinking, oh, I would never do that. And then, thank God I haven't yet. Oh, but I might. Oh, what if I someday do? It is claustrophobic, but in the most, as she says, in the most glorious way. It's sort of like Room. The love that she has for this child is so powerful, as any mother's love for a young one would be. But the pull of this drug, of this alcohol, I kept picturing a scale and thinking at sometimes one seems weighted and then the other seems weighted, and you know where her heart is. She's got a father who is tough on her, and it's just so good. It's so strong. And I can't recommend it highly enough. I just can't. I can't wait to have her on Facebook Live to talk about this book. I can't wait to meet her. She, the woman in the story, is an actress, and she's that's in the past, and this, her life is spiraling out of control. But she has a love and a pull that is just so equally balanced, and you have to read it to see what happens. Bright Burning Things, Lisa Harding, so good. Oh, I'm back again with another book that has gotten incredible raves. Lady, I'm not sure, is this the one that's got the quotes? I can't remember. But this is, maybe it is, maybe it's not. It is. This is another one. This is very much like Bright Burning Things, in that there is this Harper Via, and it is beloved the world over. Hummingbird, which is really, it's such a hard book to talk about, because it's really about a man who sees life happening to him, and all these, somebody used the word pummel. Life pummels him. There's a lot of stuff, bad stuff that happens to him, and he sort of watches it all take place. And it's not until he's faced with raising his granddaughter that he can truly experience joy. That is the Cliff Notes description of this book. But I let me just give me a couple minutes on this, because I know we're so short on time. But this is a book that that's got everybody in-house talking. That's got everybody everywhere talking. It was a massive hit in Italy, and it was voted best book of the year. It won the Strega. He's the Veronese. Sandro Veronese is the only second author in the 73-year history of the prize to have won the award twice. It's an international sensation. It's a saga of this Florentine family from the 60s to the present. And it goes back and forth, and some of it's in prose and some of it's in notes, and it keeps you on your toes, because you're constantly, your reading experience is quite refreshed, because it's not typical, And the quotes on this, Michael Cunningham, the hummingbird is a remarkable accomplishment, a true gift to the world. Jhumpa Lahiri, long considered one of Italy's leading writers, Sandro Veronese, has rewritten the family saga. Ardent, gripping, and inventive to the core, it has already been hailed a classic. Marco Carrera is the hummingbird. He's an ophthalmologist, and this is the man who's being pummeled by life. It's just got this. He's got this. They say it's got like sort of this supernatural ability to remain still, while there's all this chaos going around in his life, in his family life. Without going into all the ways that he is being pummeled, it isn't until he is left to raise his granddaughter that he starts to feel joy. You've got to read this book. Everybody who's read this book has absolutely fallen in love with it. It's a wisdom and a gentleness, an objectivity and an honesty that comes off the page and makes you not want it to end. That's The Hummingbird.
Okay, South to America, Journey Below the Mason-Dixon to Understand the Soul of the Nation by Imani Perry. So if you're not familiar with Imani Perry, she is the author of Looking for Lorraine, which was a New York Times notable book. And she is also the author of Breathe, which was an NAACP Image Award nominee. She's one of the preeminent scholars on race in America working today. John Meacham says Imani Perry is a Renaissance threat, gifted in scholarship and fluid in her expression of complex ideas. She is already one of the nation's great public intellectuals. And what she is doing here is she was born in the South in Alabama and raised in the North. And she took it upon herself to kind of challenge everything she knew and what people at large know about the South. You know, we have the things that come immediately to mind: Civil War, Gone with the Wind, etc. But what this is a story of a Black woman returning to Alabama and really challenging her conceptions of what it is to be Southern, what the South's history and complexities mean for the nation as a whole, and how we can kind of reimagine our national identity through the lens of the South. So it's nuanced, but again, like very readable. But she just asks these really brilliant, complex, unexpected questions of how we relate to our South, and it's troubling, but also history, but also the things that are so beautiful that come from there. So this is an important book, highly anticipated, again, from a very important author. So this is coming January 25th. South to America.
Okay, next we have Scoundrel by Sarah Weinman. This one, I think Sarah is one of my favorite true crime writers. I think she's doing so many, not only is she just so smart and knows everything there is to know about true crime, but she's doing so many cool things with it and changing the narrative. And in this, so she wrote The Real Lolita, and she was the editor of Unspeakable Acts. So if you're a true crime fan and you haven't read those, they're required reading, please go check them out. But in this new book, it revolves around a story of, in the 1960s, Edgar Smith. He's in prison and sentenced to death for the murder of a teenager, Victoria Zelinsky. He struck up a correspondence with William F. Buckley, the founder of the National Review, while he was in prison. Buckley refused to believe that a man who supported the neoconservative movement could have committed such a heinous crime, and he began to advocate not only for Smith's life to be spared, but for his sentence to be overturned. And it goes from there. It's a bizarre tale that takes place in mid-century America. It's perfect. She's the perfect person to tell this. She leads us through the twist of fate and fortune that brought Smith to freedom, book deals, fame, eventually attempting murder again. And she talks to the people she talks of the people who he deceived and how the public became complicit. And it's just a forgotten part of American history, also reform of criminal justice in America and what that looks like, and how it can be for or against someone. And exposes all of these stories, but also she pays a lot of attention to the people in his life that Edgar Smith wronged, particularly the women around him, as much as she does about him. It's more about those people and how they were affected. And it might be interesting for you to know that Sarah did actually talk to the main subject, Edgar Smith, before he passed away. And then she kind of worked backwards from that to fill in the rest of the story with the perspective of those around him. And so, that gives her a lot of access to this story. And it's just a new approach to true crime. It's fascinating. And that is Scoundrel by Sarah Weinman, coming out in February.
Okay, Alienation, 36 True Tales of Immigration by Sofia Stevanovic, edited by Sofia Stevanovic, excuse me. So this is 36 stories that were originally told on stage as part of this Alienation program, which Sofia was the creator and host of. And it was a program that celebrated stories of immigration, intimate fly-on-the-wall details, not, obviously many countries are facing large-scale immigrant issues. This is about the people. This is about their people's stories and what it's like on the ground as immigrants in our country and others. So this includes tales from like best-selling authors, award-winning authors, Alexander Chee and Andre Aciman, amongst many others. But it's also the story of, everyday people, whether, just people on the ground, doctors, shop owners, everyone you could imagine, and just these intimate stories of what it's like, in a day-to-day life. It's inspirational and beautiful. It's, I think it's at times heartbreaking, but it's important. These are just unique voices and perspectives that need to be told in this beautiful and caring way, which is really what this program was all about when it was running. And now we're so excited to have these come to print in this collection. So this is Alienation, and it's coming in October.
I'm here. Hello. Social Justice Parenting by Dr. Tracy Baxley. This is coming out from Harper Waved. Dr. Baxley is a professor of education. She has more than 30 years experience teaching diversity and inclusion. And this book she's a mother of 5 herself, and she suggests that parenting is a form of activism. So in the pandemic, everybody was sort of closed up. And of course, there was also the Black Lives Matter. A lot of, society was turning on its head, and lessons needed to be taught, and we needed to learn how to teach those lessons to our children. Social justice means doing your part to distribute power so everyone has a fair chance to live a full, productive life. That's at the crux of this book. So we all should be able to agree on this. The goal of social justice parenting, says Dr. Baxley, is to develop a child who can ultimately self-advocate, empathize with others, recognize injustice, and become proactive in changing it. I think the things that I was saying to the editor about this book, there's a whole lot of information on Edelweiss about this book, but it's the 2 things that jump out at me about this book are that empathy and prescriptive. So the book is divided into 2 parts. Part 1 outlines what a social justice approach to parenting looks like and what it requires of us. And then part 2 gets into specific practical application, which I think, that's what you need. I think this is such a great, important book and such a good library book. There's so many bullets here, and we can share these with you, but there's so much real tangible things that can be done, and suggestions like why parents can't opt out of the race conversation, why it's never too early to start, why parents have to talk about various degrees of privilege, and acknowledge that it exists, while also unpacking their own childhood experiences with race and privilege. How, in our effort to shield our children from the ugliness of the world, we may add to their feelings of hopelessness by not giving them tools to deal with the things that they see as unfair. Getting honest about what's best for my child versus what's best for all children. How to talk about unconscious bias in your home. This is just the beginning of. I'm just scratching the surface of all of the information and the tools by this woman, this doctor who knows what she speaks. It's poised to become essential reading for all parents and caregivers committed to social change. It offers a roadmap for nurturing a future generation of humane and compassionate individuals. It's a toolbox. That's what this is. it's different ways of activism can look, and ideas for kid-friendly activism, and much, much more. As I say, she's a professor, a consultant, a parenting coach, a speaker, and mother to 5 biracial children. Here's a quote by the deputy editor of Parents Magazine, Diane Dubrovner. Social justice parenting offers guidance and grace for parents who want to teach their children how to create a fair and inclusive world. Whether your family is ready to take baby steps or big steps, Tracy Baxley explains how to approach tough topics in a way that is both empowering and reassuring. So, social justice parenting, Dr. Tracy Baxley.
Okay. Next up is A Blood and Sweat by Clyde W. Ford, who is an incredibly accomplished thinker, scholar, author, most recently of Think Black, but he's the author of 10 works of fiction and nonfiction. Think Black won the Nautilus Award for Social Change and Social Justice, amongst many other awards. He is an incredible human being, and as Virginia mentioned, these topics are important. The basis of race and racism in our country. Obviously, you'll see critical race theory in the news and headlines all over the place. And what this book is doing is it's a deep dive into the history of America and American industry, whether it's law enforcement, culture, medicine, financial services, agriculture, and how at the core of each of these industries and their histories, Black Americans were, integral and central to their creation and to their success. That also through, the structure of American society, these industries were built to subjugate Black Americans and to benefit white Americans. So this is a deep dive into the structures and the workings of our America that we know today. And I think it's a radical look, an important look at everything, even to pre-colonial Africa through post-Civil War America. This is an ambitious and important book. And I think Clyde is the person to do it. He just has such a way with distilling important facts and information and concepts into a very readable resource that I think everyone should call upon. So this is an important book. I'm thrilled about it, and it's coming in April. So that's Of Blood and Sweat by Clyde W. Ford.
No, can you hear me? Yeah, good. This is No One Will Miss Her by Kat Rosenfield. This is twisty. This is twisty and fun. This is a bold new voice in a very crowded market. Kat Rosenfield has won acclaim for her YA mysteries and her work with Marvel Comics founder Stan Lee. And she can tell the hell out of a story, and she has with this one. Everybody that I've talked to about this book says halfway through, they're like, wait, what? And they have to go back and read the beginning again. And it is true. So this is her adult debut. She was Edgar nominated YA author. And this is this is a thriller about a dead woman and an impoverished Maine town, and a glamorous social media influencer who is renting this woman's cabin, and the detective who's trying to piece everything together. So each woman is desperately lonely in her own way, and they navigate this complex relationship that cuts across class boundaries. This is Gone Girl for the gig economy. It's a story of privilege and identity and cunning as 2 devious women from opposite worlds discover the dangers of coveting someone else's life. Kat Rosenfield is a pop culture political writer whose work has appeared in Wired, Vulture, Entertainment Weekly. She's everywhere, and this is, as I say, it's a bold new voice in a crowded market, and everybody's going to be talking about this twist. It makes you go back and read the beginning again. It's super fun, and it's very twisty, and no one sees the twist coming. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm afraid to say too much.
Okay, Woman on Fire by Lisa Barr. You'll know from the award-winning Fugitive Colors and The Unbreakables, which I loved. This is a historical novel that's inspired by the true facts that, you know, the end of World War II, Nazis were estimated to have stolen 1/5 of all artworks in Europe. That's almost 650,000 paintings. And what is happening here with Lisa is she's telling a story of a young, ambitious journalist, Jules, whose boss is friends with this famous shoe designer who is dying, but wants to procure this famous artwork titled Woman on Fire by Ernst Engel. It's one of his most famous works. It's not known where it is, but he enlists the help of Jules to track it down. And she is going toe-to-toe with this ruthless art collector in Europe whose family is worth millions off art collection, and she's this like cunning gallerist who just basically is cutthroat, as the art world often can be. So it's this kind of, you know, ticking clock as these two people are going toe-to-toe to try to locate what happened to this beautiful work of art. And you also get hints as to why this work of art is so important to this shoe designer, and, you know, it's the truth behind its disappearance. There's also a romance in this. There's adventure. There's danger. It's just propulsive and so good. And again, lots of quotes in. Mary Kubica says, incredibly fast-paced and savvy, Lisa Barr takes readers into the high-stakes world of art theft through the eyes of a young, gutsy journalist. Thick with history, scandal, romance, and deceit, Woman on Fire is a truly compulsive read. So this will be a lot of fun, and it is coming in March.
Hey, Daughters of War by Dinah Jeffries. So this is the first book in a sweeping historical trilogy, and it will span from France to London to Paris, Morocco, Malta, and it's linked by three sisters. Dinah is the author of international bestseller The Tea Planter's Wife, and this is the first novel after her move to HarperCollins, so very excited to have her. And in this story, it takes place in 1944 France at an old stone cottage in a small village. Three sisters long for the end of the war. Helen, the eldest, is trying hard to steer her family to safety. And then when the Allies come knocking on their door, they have to decide, are they going to stand up and do the right thing or sit on the sidelines and hope for the best? And bravery is really important, but it also comes at a cost because they have some secrets between them that may come out. And so they're going to kind of go together to go through this terrible time and decide who they can trust. And it's such a personable author. I watched a video of Dinah, and she has such an interesting backstory, but she just talked a lot about how she wrote this during the pandemic. And she said that, you know, none of this can ever like go against what happened back then in the story. But putting into perspective working during the pandemic and being isolated and kind of finding it hard to find hope in dark times. And so we're very excited to bring this to an American audience. And there's also a library hardcover edition as well. And that's Daughters of War by Dinah Jeffries, coming out in November.
The Postmistress of Paris by Meg Waite Clayton. This is the New York Times bestselling author of The Last Train to London. She's a terrific writer. We've had her on Facebook Live, and she's just wonderful. This is a new novel, historical fiction, and she's revisiting the early days of the German occupation in Paris. So we meet this woman, Nani, who is very wealthy and beautiful, and she transcends her Midwestern roots. And when German tanks roll across the border and into Paris, she joins the resistance. She's known as the postmistress because she delivers information to those in hiding, and she uses her charms and skill to house the hunted and deliver them to safety. This book is inspired by the real-life Chicago heiress Mary Jane Gold, and who she worked with American journalist Varian Fry to smuggle artists and intellectuals out of France. So Meg Waite Clayton has, created this sweeping romance, novel of romance and danger, and set in a world aflame with personal and political passion. It's a story of an indomitable woman whose strength and bravery and love is a beacon of hope in a time of terror. So as she did for The Race for Paris and The Last Train to London, she creates a strong female character based on women who heroically fought against the Nazis, and fictionalizes other real life heroes. This joins the ranks of novels like Jessica Shattuck's The Women in the Castle, Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. There's great quotes of Lisa Scottolini, Pam Jenoff. I love this quote by Lisa Wingate, #1 New York Times bestselling author of Before We Were Yours. She says, "The work of an unsung heroine rises from the pages of The Postmistress of Paris. Meg Wade Clayton draws a vivid contrast between the beauty of art and the brutality of war, the power of humanity and the human cost of cruelty, greed, and prejudice. With a heart-stopping flight across war-torn Europe, this is a story readers of historical fiction and strong female characters will devour." Yes. Postmistress of Paris.
Okay, The Last Confessions of Sylvia P. by Lee Kravitz. So we have some really fun reimaginings of literature today. We had Great Gatsby. Now we're moving on to Sylvia Plath and The Bell Jar. And I love both of those books, so I was very excited to see both of these on this list. And we know that The Bell Jar was semi-autobiographical for Sylvia Plath's life, but this story allows us to understand what time must have been like for Sylvia as well as other people on the outside, and how they would have seen her going through these hard times. It's purely fiction, but there's a small mystery at the center, so it'll keep you turning those pages. You'll want to know. And there's a really great narrative that's around these three distinct fictional perspectives around Plath. It's her psychiatrist, a malicious rival poet, and years later, a curator of antiquities. This curator, it's like on the eve of her retirement, somebody comes in with 3 notebooks that have a handwritten copy of The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath written down. And she has to take it to some people to see if they're, like she puts it on display, and it kind of brings up all of these people who love Sylvia Plath, but also what's the right thing to do, and did she ever want these seen by anyone, and how did they get them? Why is she getting them now? Where did they find them? An old house that Sylvia never lived in. But as she uncovers some of this, people start to realize that maybe this curator has a link to Sylvia's past as well. And so as the curator is on the brink of retirement, she's trying to figure out where this legacy is going to go, and how it can be rewritten from the past too. Her psychiatrist really had a lot of inspiration while she was in that place as well. And so how did she inspire that literary greatness? And then you have that rival poet who they kind of spur each other on to greater things, but maybe she kind of contributed to some of the madness as well. It's a perfect blend of fact and fiction, like I said, poetry, confessional stories, but they're just really 3 strong, flawed women that are the pillars of this book, and how do they help and hurt each other. And I think it's a cool way to think of some of Sylvia Plath's life as she was writing this story. And yeah, I'm excited about this one. It's called The Last Confessions of Sylvia P. by Lee Kravitz, coming in March.
Okay, The Tobacco Wives by Adele Myers. This was a big acquisition for us. It's a debut historical fiction, but with 100,000 announced first print, which should help position it for you. And this is going to be book club catnip. It's takes place in 1947 North Carolina, and follows this young seamstress, Maddie, who comes to town. She's new to Brightleaf, North Carolina, which is like the tobacco capital of the South. And she's going to help her aunt's business, putting together clothes for the most prosperous wives and women in this, tobacco society. And through this experience, she develops, very tight-knit relationships both with her coworkers and with the women for whom she's making these dresses. And she learns a lot behind the scenes about what's actually happening in the society. But one thing she also learns is that many of these women are beginning to show substantial health issues, and she uncovers the truth behind why this is occurring. And it does not shine a good light on this tobacco industry, which allows this, this town to be so successful and wealthy. So this is a story of her kind of coping with that truth and what she can do to expose it against a very powerful industry, and also save the women that matter so much to her. So again, it's great historical setting, fantastic interpersonal relationships, especially given the time period, but also that kind of propulsive element of some, just like one person with the truth behind this, very powerful force. So very immersive, again, great book club book, and it is coming in March.
Okay, so the last one for me, someone who doesn't need an introduction, but we're very excited about You Don't Know Us, Negroes and Other Essays by Zora Neale Hurston. So Zora Lives On, Barracoon, which was the nonfiction book she wrote about the man who was on the last slave ship from Africa. That hit the Times list at like #2. Everyone's hungry for more work from her, especially since she was such an acclaimed artist of the Harlem Renaissance. And this is going to just be an amazing catalog of the decades of work that she did, an anthology showcasing her development as a writer, early pieces that you haven't seen, some of her final published works, some well-known things as well, but also just writings of the time and showing when she lived, and it's grouped thematically. And it covers a range of topics, including politics, race, gender, folkloric study, because she was big into folklore. And then also it kind of leads into the early years of the civil rights movement. And that has that great introduction that we're very excited about. But in that introduction, it talks about how some people say that she was, she was a big proponent of literature only that in that time was only reflecting a two-dimensional construct of someone in African-American fiction, or people put into fiction. And she just wanted to show that that was really going towards their goal, not the communities. And these writings show multifaceted people who were there during those historical time periods. And so this one is really going to be special, and we're proud to have it and her backlist on our list.
Beautiful. And the last book, I can't believe we're only 6 minutes over after that horrific technical disaster in the beginning. But this book is actually just about to be out. But it is out. It's on sale on July 27th. It's A Farewell to Gabo and Mercedes. And this is by Rodrigo Garcia, the son of one of the greatest writers of our time. And he remembers Gabriel Garcia Marquez and his mother in this tender memoir of love and loss. During his father was 87, and during his final days, Rodrigo started to keep a record of that time. And the result is this intimate account that not only contemplates his father's mortality, but really shows his humanity. And, it just sort of peels back lets us see him, in his relationship with his family, and it's a heartfelt look at his private family life. It's got photographs from the family archive, and it just shows a very candid side to Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's a beautiful farewell to two extraordinary people, and Salman Rushdie said this. He said, it enthralled and moved me, and it will move and enthrall anyone who has ever entered the glorious literary world of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So we wanted to end on this because we wanted to make sure that you all know about this book, but also, yes, it's poignant, but it's also a celebration of his life. HarperCollins introduced 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. We published that a long time ago, and it's been an honor to have his books under our roof. And Harper Via is ecstatic to now publish his son, Rodrigo Garcia. And so this is a remarkable introduction not only to this author, but it's a lovely tribute to his parents, and specifically Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So that is it. Yes, the last 2 hours flew by, said Kim, and you had us all entertained and greedy for arcs. Yay! And yes, we love Harper Via. They put out such great books. If we had more time, or if you want to come over to our homes, we're going to hang out in the park and eat souvlaki. These are the books we talk about. Patricia Cornwell, how exciting is that? I mean, look, a lot of these books are self-explanatory, but we want to make sure that you know about them. Cokie Roberts, this is written by her husband, Cookie Roberts was a HarperCollins author, and she was absolutely lovely. And as many of you know, a huge supporter of libraries, attending conferences, and she was just a special woman. And so we're very excited to, honored to have that book on her list written by her husband. But Anthony Bourdain, I mean, guys, I don't know. What am I not saying? I'm saying everything that you can see on the slides, but we just have some wonderful books here. You guys want to do a shout out?
Yeah, I just want to point out Little Sister, another true crime, got to point those out. But this is Natalie Wood's sister, Alana Wood, and I won't give anything away, but it's fascinating, and I've learned things over the course, and she has a lot of memories of Natalie, so also you get to see her as a person, but the crime itself. That's one I want to shout out.
Okay. Chris, want to shout one out?
And I see the Bourdain love, and I echo all of that. Of course, there's that documentary that I believe is out now. I just think he, is so influential. He's not going away. His influence and legacy is here to stay for a very long time, especially as people are now so hungry to travel and learn how to interact with their surroundings. So, yeah, very excited.
Anything else? More big books, Mitch Albom, Dave Grohl. Look at Anderson Cooper as a little munchkin, lower left. And Matthew Pearl, we had him on Facebook Live, and that is a fascinating story about Daniel Boone's daughter, Jemima Boone. So go back and check that out on YouTube. It's really, really wonderful. And Stacey Abrams writing as Selena Montgomery. How cool is that? So you have all this information in your handouts, and of course, health and wellness. We would be remiss if we did not mention, body, mind, spirit. We've got something for everything, and we hope that these are helpful to you. And you guys want to talk about these real quick?
Yeah, so we do have graphic novels coming. The second part of Sapiens, which is exciting. You can get the first volume now. And I'm particularly excited about Brave New World, a graphic novel adaptation. We don't have any spreads yet for that, but the editor who I spoke to is very excited, and we should hopefully have something to share very, very soon.
So thank you all so much. And I apologize for the beginning, and I thank Chris and Lady from the bottom of my heart, because that was tall order, you guys. But I'm glad we got it up and running, and I'm glad we were able to make up the time. And I don't know, Lainey, is there anything you want to say about the handouts, the virtual handouts and e-galleys and stuff?
I think we went over it at the beginning, but if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I know everyone wants galleys, I know, but we're doing stuff pretty far out. So if it has an Edelweiss or NetGalley logo, that's a pretty good indication of if we have physical ones or if we're going to. If not, email me and we'll figure it out, or I'll whitelist you. So let me know. Okay.
Well, we hope we see you all at one of our door-to-door episodes that are coming up. And if you have any questions, as Lainey said, just give us a shout out. And we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us talk about books. And be well, be safe, take good care, and enjoy the rest of the summer. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.